am 95 years old. I'm sitting here in this drafty public laundromat, watching my thin gray towels spin behind the glass. And I've realized that I spent nearly 80 of those years trying to wash away a man who was never actually dirty. I'm telling you this now because the dryer has 12 minutes left. And frankly, at my age, 12 minutes is a significant amount of time, to be honest. There is a specific kind of loneliness you find in a laundromat at 3 in the afternoon. It's just me and the hum of the machines. It's the kind of quiet that forces you to look at your own hands, which are spotted and thin like parchment paper now. For most of my life, I hated these hands because I thought they weren't strong enough, or they didn't earn enough, or they weren't successful, quote unquote, enough. I spent a lifetime punishing myself for not being someone else. When I was 30, I thought that being hard on myself was the only way to survive. I had a job at the shipyard, a heavy mortgage, and a wife, Sarah, who used to try to hold my face in her hands just to get me to look at her, but I remember always pulling away. I didn't think I deserved to be looked at with that much kindness because I hadn't achieved anything yet. I told myself that once I got the promotion or once we saved $10,000, then I would allow myself to be happy. I treated my life like a laundry list of stains that needed to be scrubbed out, always waiting for the clean version of myself to arrive before I give that man a moment's peace. I remember a Saturday in 1965 when Sarah wanted to go to the park with the kids, but I stayed home to fix a porch light that didn't really need fixing. I was angry at myself that day for something small, missing a bill payment, and I spent the whole afternoon berating myself in my head with names I would never call a stranger. I thought that by being my own bully, I was making myself a better man, but all I was doing was becoming a ghost in my own house. The damage didn't happen all at once. It was a slow, quiet erosion of everything that mattered. Sarah eventually stopped trying to hold my face, and the kids stopped asking me to sit on the floor and play. Not because they stopped loving me, but because they learned it was painful to love someone who was constantly at war with himself. You think your self-hatred is a private matter, a secret burden you carry to stay disciplined, but it's actually a fog that everyone around you has to breathe. I kept waiting for later, assuming that at 60 or 70, I'd finally feel like I'd done enough to deserve a bit of self-respect. I assumed there would be a day when the work was finished and I could finally be kind to the person who did it. Then, 10 years ago, Sarah died. We were sitting in the kitchen and she just went. In the heavy silence that followed, the critic in my head went into overdrive, blaming me for every missed trip to Italy and every time I chose the shipyard over a family dinner. But one night, standing in this very laundromat, I saw an old man in the reflection of the glass. He looked so tired and defeated, and for the first time in 90 years, I felt a spark of genuine compassion for him. I realized that this man, me, had been through wars, poverty, and the loss of a child and a wife. He had worked every single day of his life and tried, in his own fumbling way, to be good, yet his own mind had never given him a single day of rest. It hit me like a physical blow. I had been a cruel landlord to my own soul, starving the very human being who was doing all the hard work. I cannot go back to 1965 and go to that park. I can't tell Sarah that I finally understand what she was trying to do when she held my face. That time is gone, a debt that can never be repaid. That is the heaviest part of being 95, knowing exactly where the mistakes were made and having no hands left to fix them. I look at the young people who come in here sometimes, staring at their phones or judging their reflections in the glass with that same narrow-eyed look I used to have. They're all thinking about who they need to become, waiting for a better version of themselves that is just around the corner. If I could reach through the noise of those dryers, I would tell them to stop waiting for a reason to be kind to themselves. The world is going to be hard enough on you. Your body will fail, the economy will shift, and people will leave. If you are also against yourself, then you are truly alone in a way no one should have to be. Loving yourself isn't about being proud or thinking you're better than anyone else. It's just about being a decent friend to the person who has to live your life. I wish I had known that the stains weren't something to be ashamed of. The mistakes and the failures were the very fabric of being alive. By trying to scrub them all out, I just ended up wearing the cloth thin until there was nothing left to keep me warm. My laundry is almost done now. I'll fold these towels and I'll walk back to my small apartment. It's quiet there, but it's a different kind of quiet than it used to be. I'm learning, very slowly, to sit with myself without pointing fingers. I'm 95, and I'm finally learning how to say, "It's okay," to the man in the mirror. It's a bit late for a happy ending, but it's a peaceful one. Don't wait as long as I did. Don't assume you have decades to figure this out, because the clock in this laundromat only goes one way. If you've been your own worst enemy, maybe just try to be a little softer today. Not because you've earned it, but just because you're here. That's all the reason you need. Take care of yourselves. The machine is about to stop.